This is a Think Live Be production.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da. Seeking the best, seeking the best, seeking the best, 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 best,
Welcome to Seeking the Best. This is the podcast for growth-minded real estate agents seeking clarity, focus, and a better way forward. I'm your host, Kathryn, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Patrick Futica, our sound engineer, producer extraordinaire.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I was going to do something different.
Okay.
Instead of the good morning. I was going to say, hello, hello, hello.
Oh, okay.
Do you like that?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Veto. It has been vetoed. Anyways, we're here to talk about real estate again because we love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
We love talking about.
As soon as we finish the show, I can't wait to start the next one.
We joke, but also I feel like it's all we do.
And by the way, guys, when we do finish the episode, that doesn't mean we stop. That just means I turned off the microphones.
Right. Well, because I do believe when you're a realtor and this is your career, and whether you're an individual agent and that's where you want to be, or you're trying to grow a team, or you own a big team, wherever you are in your journey as a real estate agent, you own a brokerage even, you like embody this lifestyle of a real estate agent. You are that person. And
well, you don't get to turn it off because, when I say turn it off, it's like, it's not a 9 to 5 where you punch in, punch out, and it's somebody else's responsibility to make sure the business doesn't shut down. Yeah, it's like when you own your own business, it's all enveloping. It's why we talk so much about things like time management and the first thing you do at the beginning of the year is schedule your vacations, and because otherwise it is 24/7, and you try not to do that because that's how you get burned out.
Well, and what you just said is it's a business that you own. So any other business, like I always think about when we talk as an example, like if you owned a restaurant, you're ultimately, even if you have the night off, if somebody doesn't show up,
it's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility to step in. Now that person might not keep their job. And so maybe, as an employee, you still want to do a good job if you're a good employee.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you don't have the weight of the entire business on your shoulders.
Right. Yeah.
Waking up in the middle of the night like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this.
Or just like looking down the road of like direction, like where is this business going and how, like that's all on your shoulders. So for us and the Think Live Be team, Kathryn's team, it is a 24-hour a day thing. And we have to be kind of diligent in, I don't want to talk about real estate right now.
Yeah, I say that sometimes.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk about it, real estate. Like, can we do something else? Like that, we have to be diligent in that and go on vacations where we're not attached to the phones and that kind of a thing to be able to take a break, Because I do believe that,
as cheesy as it is, but like the whole thing, like if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I do believe that to some degree.
Sure.
And I enjoy the chosen career that I have, and I love having my own business and all the things that go along with that. But, there are still times where I'm just like, ugh, I want to be done with it.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to turn it off.
I'm sure
and you
everybody
can't
feels
100%,
that way.
But you can strategically plan your life so that.
And what you try to do is instead of turning it off is get enough business and be successful enough to be able to hire people to leverage your time so that those people, so you can say, oh, enough. I don't want to do that part. Hopefully you get to a point where you can leverage the stuff you don't want to do, so that you can enjoy the things that you like to do more when it comes to the business.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned leverage because we're going to talk about that a little bit today.
Okay.
And leverage is this thing where, yes, it allows you to grow into a bigger business because you have more people equals more hours of work time, which means you should be able to grow more production. That's what every business is. But it also is like, when you become a real estate agent, you have all of these job responsibilities. And realistically, no one is excellent at all of them.
Yeah.
There are things that you're really good at or that you really enjoy doing and you're good at. And then there's things that you dread doing that somebody else would love, that somebody would absolutely love to do.
Yeah.
And so when you finally get to a point where you want to hire someone, there's
finding the person that loves those things.
There's this opportunity to give somebody else a really awesome career and opportunity for them to really enjoy that aspect. And then you're like, cool. Now somebody else owns that and I get to go focus on the things that I do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So the leverage isn't just growing sales production, although it should, but it's also being able to just continue to focus on what you do best and become a master at those things and allow somebody else to become a master at the things they're really good at.
Right.
So it's a cool thing. It's a lot harder than it might seem, hiring people.
Yeah.
And
that's the part that isn't the real estate job, right? That's the way you say that there's the 5 duties of a real estate agent, but you're not just a real estate agent, you're a business owner too.
Yeah.
And there's the duties of a business owner. So you're doubling up on responsibilities, some of them easier than others.
And I don't think I was ever naive to that fact that it's not easy to find, recruit and hire or attract talented people and then train them while you're doing the job that you're already doing.
Yeah, a full-time job.
I don't think I was ever naive that was going to be challenging. In fact, it probably held me back a little bit in hiring and still does, because it's like, oh my gosh, but that's a whole other job. And I've got this other job that I'm doing.
Right.
and multiple other things that I'm responsible for. So it's not easy. It is its own thing. It's its own job. And I think within my path of wanting to grow a team and starting that hiring path, I've had a lot of lessons. And there's a little bit different than some of the lessons we've talked about in this season. There's not necessarily this moment or experience with one person. I've had these very impactful moments of client experiences or spending too much money.
You can look back and go, that was it.
That was the thing that caused me to change the way I did something. With hiring and leverage, it's more of a repeating patterns of seeing things over and over again and being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Why is this? Why am I seeing this all the time, every time?
And learning lessons through that journey of hiring, firing, attracting talent, training people that aren't talented, keeping them there, even when they shouldn't still be there.
Well, do you want to get into it?
Sure.
You want to tell us something?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little something.
All right, let's go.
At about 8 years into the real estate business, I decided that I needed help. We were living in our first home. We bought our first house we bought was a little bungalow with a little guest house in the back. And we were very intentional about that home purchase because we saw that as an opportunity to have a little office and have a place where you could close the door and turn it off, because we were already starting to see that this is a busy, nonstop thing. So at least there was a boundary there. We had lived there though for a few years, and I was getting very busy. And I was seeing growth year over year. And I kind of was starting to understand the concept of having an assistant. And so my first dip into having leverage was hiring a transaction coordinator that worked as a third party independent contractor company, just helping behind the scenes, not really client engaging, anything like that. And that helped. But I still felt like I couldn't dedicate as much time as I wanted to building the actual systems and business and talking to as many people as I needed to, because that's always the problem. And so I decided I would hire someone. And I think in the moment, it seemed like a good idea. And I hired an agent within the office to be a part-time assistant. That's always like a good idea in theory. And I quickly learned that person, although they had a real estate license, wasn't actually qualified to be someone's executive assistant. And I also realized really quickly that part-time was a mess, because when I actually needed someone, they weren't there. And when they were there, I didn't need them. Because when I actually needed someone, they weren't there. When they were there, I didn't need them. So that did not last. I did decide, though, that the overall concept was great. The idea of having somebody and being able to leverage paperwork and all kinds of things was what I needed. Just that wasn't the right person. And so I went about trying to find somebody new, and I found a person to be a full-time assistant. I would have the first person, I don't even think she was there a week, and I realized very quickly that it didn't work out. That was actually probably the fastest firing I've ever done. What happened after that was hiring someone, putting them in a role, realizing they weren't a good fit, and then not firing them. And that's a pattern that showed up over and over and over and over and over for the next 8 years. I have a tendency to blame myself. That's like step one when I hire someone. If I don't think that they're getting it, well, it's got to be my fault, right? The training's not on point. I'm not spending enough time with them. And maybe some of that is true, especially in the early years of when you first hire someone. You don't necessarily have a training program built out for them, and they're going to be doing a lot of shadowing and watching. And it's hard to spend time with them and do your regular job. And so I allowed myself to believe that was true for many years, though, beyond the initial first hires into very well-developed training programs. And then the second thing that I saw as a pattern, and still do, is I want to fix them. Like, if I like the person and I think, well, they're like a perfectly nice person, I can help them figure this out. I just need to spend more time with them. I need to pour more into them. I need to give them more, give them more, give them more, give them more, give them more. And I'll help them figure it out. And what that leads to is me not doing my job, which means the sales aren't happening. And ultimately, the end result is that they still aren't a good fit for the role. There's also this fear. Once you find somebody, it can take months to find somebody for a role that you want to hire. And there's this fear of letting go of someone because you know what that means. You know that it means you have to start all over, which means you're behind for your goal of having X number of team members for the year, or you're behind on your production goal. And so the pattern that shows up is that you wait and you don't fire somebody. And this isn't just administrative staff, although definitely that's happened over the years. It's also salespeople. Hiring salespeople, you often tell yourself that, well, they don't really cost any hard money. And they do. They do. But you tell yourself they don't. And you convince yourself that, well, if I can just get them into production. So the same cycle happens where you blame yourself and say, well, maybe I didn't train them properly. Or, well, I can make this person successful. I can do it. If I just pour into them more. So, okay, we're going to do more script and role play in the morning. We're going to do more. And then fear of, well, if I don't keep this person, then I have to start over. I have to go find another salesperson. And I wanted to hire a second one. And it's this vicious cycle of blaming yourself instead of really looking at the hard facts that some people just aren't a good fit for the role you hired them to. Or they're not a good fit for you and your business.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest lessons, whether it be salespeople or admins, is this idea of you shouldn't have to bend over backwards to try to get them to get it. The person who's right for the job, whether it's sales or admin or whatever else, it comes naturally to them. They're engaged in it. They want to learn. It just works. It just fits. Now, does that mean you don't train them? Absolutely not, right? They still have to learn everything, but it's like they just naturally are drawn to it. You don't want to know why? Because they're the right people for the job. So between you and me, listener, we've been doing this podcast now for many years. Hundreds and hundreds of episodes. And if I had $1 for every agent that Kathryn has hired over the years that didn't listen to their own, that didn't listen to their team leader's podcast, which you would think, well, she's my boss and she's the leader. Maybe it would do me some good to listen to the podcast she puts out every week. But if they couldn't be bothered to listen to the show, they're telling you right then that they're not the right fit for the job. You want to know how I know that is because if the roles were reversed and Kathryn was on a team and her team leader had a podcast, she would have listened to every episode before her first day. Because that's the type of person Kathryn is, and that's the type of person that she wants working for her. And it's not about ego, about listen to our podcast. It's just the type of person that you are. It should just be natural. And it took a really long time to kind of, where it's like you almost were trying to force this kind of personality trait or work ethic onto people that just didn't have it.
Well, that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. And I've learned this through experience and all of that we're talking about, but also through going to many, many events and classes. And you cannot motivate people. You just simply can't. They are either motivated or they're not.
Yeah.
And somebody says like you can inspire them, but you can't motivate them.
That's a really simple one sentence explanation for if you're going to take one thing away from this episode and you're thinking about hiring somebody or you've already hired somebody and you're not sure how it's working out. That's the line. You can't motivate anybody to do anything. All you can do is inspire. And if the motivation isn't there, then the inspiration will never hook. They already have to be motivated. Then you inspire.
And this is something that is really hard to identify when you're just going through an interview process.
Yeah.
So
it's impossible because they
tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
They do. So I love personality assessments, and I've been like pretty obsessed with them for the last decade of my life, pretty much. But just learning a personality assessment and doing it with people doesn't make you a master at really understanding it. Like
it took a long time.
It's like over and over and over and
And
over.
a lot of times when you're doing an autopsy on somebody, you go back and look at that personality test and go, oh,
no,
it's all right here.
It's right there. Oh man, there's one in particular. Let me not get into that right this second, but remind me later.
Okay.
But so I use the DISC personality assessment and the KPA. The KPA is the Keller personality assessment. And there's so much in those assessments that really give you good insight into people. But I think when you first start learning about personalities, it's very like surface level. So if somebody is a high D, does that make them driven? Because it's quick to decide. So that typically will make them like a driven, when you talk about high D personalities, they're usually successful people because they're like quick to decide, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing with those kinds of like surface level personality tests is it doesn't determine the motivation part, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody can be like a quick to decide type of person. And so they show up as a high D, but they actually really have nothing that they're pushing towards. Like they don't really know what they're doing in life and they're just kind of floating around. These are not the same things. And I also think like in the Keller personality assessment, it's so much. And I've taken a lot of classes about it and I've done a lot of KPAs now over the years. And every time I go back and take a new class, I learn something new, that there's just a little bit of nuance like, oh, I get it. Like, here's what this means. And not just what it means about the person, but what it means for them to work with me. Because that's another part of this is it's not just, is this person good for the role? Are they good for me and my business?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the lessons are around that.
People forget about that part of it.
Yeah.
Like, who am I?
Yeah.
And what is it that I
and how do they fit?
And how does it fit?
There's actually in KW Talent, this is like a paid group that you can become a member into in Keller Williams. They go through and kind of show you how they actually like overlay KPAs of people.
Right.
And like, here's my assistant, here's mine, and here you can see how we would work together. And like, not that it lines up exactly the same, but so here's an example.
Fills in the gaps, you mean?
Like if I'm super high on the responsiveness scale.
Right.
So if somebody's super low, that might be a problem for me because they're not going to be like quick enough.
Right.
They're not going to have the urgency that I have with things. And so that's going to be very challenging for me to work with that person. They could be the most amazing person in the world,
but they're too laissez-faire about things. Right. So, and we've had that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, there's
Kathryn, they'll be like, this needs to go in by 2:00 or whatever, or there'll be a call that comes in from a potential lead. Right. And Kathryn saw the lead come in, but the buyer's agent is supposed to follow up. And she's sitting there waiting for the buyer's agent to call. Mm-hmm. Like 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by. Right. And she gets angrier and angrier because the buyer's agent hasn't made the call yet, because they'll get to it when they get to it.
Well, and that's two things. That's one, a personality trait that may not align with the role or me, but it's also just bad employment, essentially. Like they aren't following the standards that you set for them.
Yes,
that's another conversation we'll get into. But right now I'm just talking about the lessons of like who you're looking for. And sometimes people show up and you don't have, at least for me, in my experience, you don't get like thousands of resumes, especially on the sales side. It's actually really hard in my experience for a small individual agent or small team to hire and attract agents. Yeah. They all want to go to the big teams. If they want to be on a team, they want to go to the big teams because they're being told that they can get leads and there's this culture that exists and it's they're able to attract that versus a small team or an individual agent who's trying to grow. It's very hard to find people. And so that's the first challenge. But then once you
you get so excited because you finally have somebody.
Yeah. And on the surface, everybody who got their real estate seems to be a driven entrepreneurial person.
Right.
Because that does take some, I don't want to say guts. That's not what I mean. But like, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go get my real estate license and I'm going to be an agent. And like, you feel like that's somebody who's got this go get 'em attitude. But where is it coming from? What's the motivation for it? What does daily life look like too? Don't even get me started on like just schedules when it comes to agents. Like, can you even be present at the times that are required and have a normal schedule of a real estate agent?
Yeah.
A lot of people get their license and they would love to join your team.
But I can't be there on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Right?
And weekends are no good for me
So,
for open houses.
but here's just a few examples of like moments where I knew it wasn't the right fit.
Okay.
Okay, first one that comes to mind. This person could not type. Like, I wish that you could see me. So open your computer and put your hands like over the keys, but not in the normal fashion, like over the certain keys that you learn in school.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're just kind of up here, and then take your individual pointer finger and type one letter,
pecking,
and then type another letter with the other
like
pointer finger.
searching on the keyboard.
Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I get to this point where this person is actually hired in the room
because they said
as an admin?
Because they walked into the interview with their Mac laptop and said, "I'm tech savvy."
And I don't know that that's true. I don't actually remember.
I think there was a text. I don't know about the Mac laptop, but I'm pretty sure that there was a tech savviness that was being said about it.
So I think for every single person that's listening to this or out in the world, if you hire somebody for an administrative role and they start typing with their pointer fingers, click, 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 you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And it's an immediate red flag.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, you're like, well, I mean, what do I do? Just like immediately fire them? Like, I've got to see what I can do to make this work. And you convince yourself that, well, okay, they just need to learn how to type faster. Well, no, that's a sign that they just have never actually. Now, this was one of my first hires, so just bear with me. Obviously, when you're hiring after some experience and you've gone through a few, you start to realize, oh no, I need to have on the resume, like they had to have done some sort of computer work, some sort of admin work, or they're not getting hired.
That was somebody who was an agent who was like, and I'm sure our listeners have thought of this themselves or have heard about this in their office. Should I get an admin job so I can learn the ropes of real estate?
Right. A lot of people they think that they'll come be your admin and that they'll learn how to do real estate. And first of all, that's not true, because you're just going to be doing this little tiny thing that I need you to do. And then the second part is
they already have one foot out the door.
Well, right. You know what their intentions are. And now if you want to hire an agent, maybe that works for you. But for most people, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because you need somebody who is
they're telling you they don't want to do that job that you hired them for. They want to do something else.
But they just want to take from you. And they think that they'll be helping you. But the reality is if they don't have experience in the role you're hiring for, they're not helping you. You're going to spend 3 or 4 months trying to train them, realize that they're terrible at that job. They want to be a real estate agent anyways, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
They never become your real estate agent, buyer's agent, or anything like that, because the relationship starts to erode as well.
Yeah. Because
you realize like, this is terrible, but I don't want to tell them it's terrible. But anyway, that one actually was a pretty quick fire.
Yeah, it was hard not to. Yeah.
But okay, so another one was I had somebody that did not want to pick up the phone, did not want to make a call.
Is this
I'm not talking about a salesperson. We'll get to salespeople in a minute.
These are all admin. Okay.
This is admin. Was like deathly afraid of the phone, I think. And it's like,
it's not both of these, by the way, typing, phone calls. When somebody comes to you and says, I want that admin job, never in a million years does the idea say, well, geez, I should ask them if they're okay on the phone or if they're deathly afraid of it. Well, you're not going to ask that. Or, geez, I should ask that person, do they know how to type? Like, those aren't questions that you ask.
So this particular one, let's call her Susie.
Okay. Susie.
Sorry if your name is Susie. Suze. So the first one I was talking about, the typing one, that was such a long time ago. I don't even think I had a job description. It was somebody that came to me and said, "Hey, can I work for you?" And I was like, "Yes, I need somebody." Toe in the
water kind of a thing. Yeah.
Over time, when the very next hire, I wrote a job description. I posted ads for it. So when you're doing a job description, of course, you put in there what you expect of them to do.
Right.
And so Suze had a resume that indicated that she was an executive assistant for somebody for a long time. Mm-hmm. So all the assumption would be that they have been able to communicate with people over the phone. And that was not the case. Did not want to do it, and really honestly just wouldn't do it. Would look for any other way, like, well, I'll just email or I'll text message. But of course, we know as real estate agents that sometimes you've got to pick up the phone. Yes, a lot of this can be done electronically, but I think your executive assistant role is a very crucial role.
Yeah, but you're already starting by twisting this person's arm.
Right. Like, if you have to tell somebody,
you're conceding already, like, well, okay, I guess we could kind of do it that way, or we could figure out. No, you do what I tell you to do.
So that's a good example too of, I had someone else who, had some ideas about what they wanted to do. And it's like, you haven't been here long enough to have any idea what I'm even doing as a job for you to be giving me ideas yet. And I think that's an expectation setting thing, but making sure people know, like, I want you to learn everything. We're going to go through a 30, 60, 90 and learn everything you can about this role and what we're doing and what your responsibility and ownership is in it. And then you can give me ideas. And, that person would not, like, it was like twisting their arm to get them to do the things that I wanted them to do instead of doing the things that they wanted to do. That's a red flag.
Yeah. Because the person who's right for the job, you're not butting heads with in the first 2 weeks of trying to get them to do something that is just part of the job. Yeah. They're just like, what else? What else do you want?
100%.
And it's like, if they're not doing that, they're not the right person.
You're
not going to be able to train that person out of it. It's like, they're not right for the job. Get rid of them.
I'm going to just call everyone Suze.
Okay.
Okay.
This could get confusing though, if we have to refer back.
Well, just know that some of these are the same people.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are different.
It's an amalgam.
But Suze was also notorious for clerical errors. Okay, wait, hold on. Lots of typos.
Yeah.
Suze had. And it was because Suze would do whatever the job was, like, really, really quick, and then go watch tutorials on YouTube of some, like, personal stuff. I'm trying not to give too many clues. Not that these people are listening to this episode.
So she'd do what you wanted her to do really, really quick.
Do my email newsletter.
Personal stuff.
And then let me watch this on YouTube. Okay. And then there would be all of these typos.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm notorious for finding every error. Like, if there's a mistake, I will find it in 2 seconds.
And I think this is far enough back that one of the things that we've learned to letting them run wild, where they could even go and watch YouTube stuff, is now, that was before there was a 30, 60, 90. Correct?
No.
Oh, jeez.
No, but again, like, you can't hover over people for 90 days. Like, you have to go out and go on appointments and showings. Yeah. And so there is a lot of time as you're building a team where you're not in the office with them. And so you don't know what they're doing. And the only reason I know that person was watching YouTube videos is because I actually had other staff at that time.
Right.
And so I was told, and because here's the thing, there's simple tasks like writing an email newsletter. It's a pretty simple task. And if you go and do that and you send it to me, you send it out and there's a typo or an error, like the link goes to the wrong place. It drives me insane. And I'm going to point it out to you because I need you to know that you made a mistake so that it doesn't happen again. And it shouldn't happen again from that point because it's a pretty simple thing like, oh, okay.
That's how you know that the person's right for the job is when they make a mistake, you point out the mistake, they go, got it. They never make the mistake again.
Yeah.
That person.
I even would give someone twice.
Yeah. Because we never, ever, that's the whole thing is like, mistakes are going to happen. That's just part of the understanding. Mistakes are going to happen. The point is that when you make the mistake, you own it and then you fix it and then you don't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
So, and then, again, I've grown as a leader. So I'm sure at certain times I've just been like, you did that wrong. You did that wrong.
Yeah.
You did that wrong. And that's probably not great for the employee either. And then they start to get anxiety about it and maybe make more mistakes. I'm not sure that was the case with Sue's, but there is a certain amount of responsibility that I do take that I take seriously. And now I do things differently now, where I would go over and I kind of would debrief with them some things and say, what is something you can do differently to make sure that doesn't happen again? And like asking them questions so to make sure that they get it instead of just assuming that me telling them you made a mistake, that they'll figure out how to not do that again. So that's a lesson I've learned when it comes to.
Except I know what that is too. And you would say, they should come to me and ask me. Right? They should be like, if they don't understand whatever, you know what I mean? Like there is like,
but you're getting ahead.
Well, I'm just saying like I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, no, don't go there yet. I've got a whole thing about that.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just give you one more and then we'll take a little break. I'll give on the agent side. So, when you hire an agent, and they want to make their calls in silence. I don't mean in silence. I mean in the shadows. Like they don't want to be near anyone else. They don't want you to hear them. They just want to go off and everything. Here's the thing with that. I get it from a standpoint of like, I get distracted and I don't really like making calls around other people either. However, when I'm hiring somebody for the role of buyer's agent or inside sales agent or whatever, and their job is to make calls, in order for them to get better, they have a very small list of responsibilities. And one of the most important jobs that they have is following up with leads. As their boss,
I have to know if
the
you can
owner
do
of
it.
the team, I need to know if they can do it and do it well. And so you have to, they have to be comfortable being uncomfortable in those situations. And if they're not, they're probably not a good fit for that role.
Yeah.
Because then how do they show up in person with people? Well, you'll never know because they don't want to ever have anybody watch them.
Well, you want the person who's right for that role goes, okay.
Yeah, they're like excited about. So that these are these things where like,
you're going to sit and listen to me? Cool. That means that when I make a mistake, they're going to tell me what I did wrong and I'll get better at this. So the person who wants to do it all by themselves in the corner, in that fear, that's not the right person for the job. This is the whole thing, right? When you know what it is that you want and why you want it, and you hire somebody and they're not willing to do those things, they are not right for the job.
Well, that's two parts. One is you start to see the personality that was on paper isn't actually who shows up in the office.
Right. That's true.
And there's that. And so you've got to look for those clues. And then the technical skills too. Like, well, on your resume, it says you did all of this marketing campaign, but yet you can't seem to type a sentence without typos. Like, I guess your last boss just didn't care that nothing was spelled correctly. I don't know. But there's that you start to see. And then there's the things like that, where if they're pushing back on what their actual job is and they don't want to do it, like they don't want to answer the phone. They don't want to.
They don't want to make the calls.
They don't want to make the calls. They don't want to. They ask you like, well, can I just do this instead?
I don't want to do open houses. I don't want to whatever.
They're telling you like, hey, this is actually not a fit. And not now. Nope, that's it. That was me like about to make excuses for them because I tend to do that.
All right, you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
All right.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
Okay, so what I was just describing was kind of some situations that you start to see where there's cracks in whether or not they're a fit or not. So that lesson of all of those experiences, though, was really just that most people are actually not a fit for the role you're hiring. You're just looking for one person for that role. And so it's kind of like leads. Like you probably have to have and I'm making up these stats, okay? But you probably have to have 20 solid, serious interview conversations with people to get one solid employee.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you're interviewing 3 or 4 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe for agents, it's just whoever said, hey, can I be an agent on your team?
Yeah.
And you have to have more conversations. That's the biggest one, because in order to find the right person, it's just going to take sourcing more and more people.
It's just like calling your sphere or calling open house leads, right? It's like the more you call, the more you talk to, the more deals fall into your lap. The more, it's like you have to talk to 20 people a day, in order to get a lead, and you need to talk to X number of leads in order to get an appointment. The same is true with hiring. I
100% believe that. And I don't know the exact stats on that, but
right.
It's a numbers game just like anything else. And if you really think about it, because there's not anybody, but anybody that has had some sort of administrative experience could be hired for the role of executive assistant. But that doesn't mean that they're good at all the specific things you want them to do. Mm-hmm. Or every admin role looks different.
Or in the way that you want them to do it. Because
or to work with you.
Yeah, who you are.
And that's the most important part that I think I missed for a while.
Yeah.
Is they have to work with me. And I remember going to a class once actually, and somebody raised their hand and they were asking like, hey, I've got this person. They seem really talented. They seem like a nice person. Like, I feel like I should hire them, but I don't really feel like we would get along. And the instructor said, well, it shouldn't be about that, blah, blah, blah. And I disagree. And the reason is because I would say it depends. Mm-hmm. If you are just you hiring or a small team, it matters greatly who you bring into that organization.
You don't need a poison pill.
You will be dealing with them every single day.
Yeah.
And I've had everything from just the sweetest things possible, but not necessarily great for the role, all the way to toxic.
Yeah.
And entitled. And I've had everything in between. And I've had some really great people, and I've had some people that I should have never in a million years hired. And I think as you continue to hire, like everybody makes the mistakes. The point are these lessons, like once you start to experience it or you hear somebody, like hear me out. When you're small and you're going for your first hire, it does matter that you like them.
100%.
Like you are going to be talking to them more than anybody else in the world, probably.
If you're going to be hiring an assistant to your marketing director, you don't have to get along with that person.
Now, they still should be of character of somebody that you'd want to represent you in your business.
But you don't have to be buddies with them.
Correct.
Because the team is big enough and they're far enough down that they're not even having meetings with you.
Yeah.
Right. So, but when it's when you've basically doubled your employees by hiring one person,
right.
That person needs to get you and you need to get them.
Yeah.
On some level, like you have, because there's a shorthand that gets created. You want them to know when you send them off to go and get gifts for the raffle or gifts for the buyer, for the buyers, that they know who Kathryn is and what Kathryn would want.
Yeah.
That is really important at the beginning because they're going to train the next person.
And they're supposed to be the person that's going to help you build systems and build the way.
Right.
And they become a part of the culture. So they need to kind of be like a mini you in a little way.
Yeah. To a certain
degree. They can have their own personality, but they need to have some of your core characteristics.
Yes, I 100% agree with that, regardless of what somebody sitting in a classroom is going to tell you to do.
Yeah.
Because you, like I said, it's one thing when you've got 4 buyer's agents, 3 admin, and a couple ISAs, and then you hire a runner. Right? The runner and who they are as a person doesn't matter as much as that first admin does. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
So lesson 2. Lesson 2 in all of this is really that you have to remember that the minute you decide to hire somebody, your job changes. And you need to write out your job responsibility as a recruiter, trainer, like you need to know what that looks like and how it fits into your schedule for at least the first 6 months and more specifically the first couple weeks and months, and figure that all out. You can do that as you're starting the hiring process, but when you're bringing someone in, you really need to know that you've now added someone and you are not just a realtor anymore. You're a manager. You're a manager of somebody else and you're responsible for their income. So you still have to go out and make sales, but you also have to give them some time and attention. And you need to have systems in place that they can work on things themselves. So one of the things that I've done over the years is the more video you can have, the more written out things. And granted, the first hire is supposed to help you do that. So they can shadow you and all of that, but try to have things in place as you're doing them now. If you want to build a team, you can start recording some of the main things you do. You don't have to document the process, just record what it is you're doing, and then they can document it when they come in. But your job changes, and I have to remind myself that regularly.
Yeah.
And then, so lesson number 3 is we talked about a lot of these red flags. But I think one of the things I've learned over the years is to look for, we'll call them green flags.
Okay.
Look for the things that are going well, because again, I have a tendency to look for what's going wrong, and that serves me pretty well in my life and career. But I also want to make sure that I'm identifying what's going right, and these are the things that you were starting to get into. Are they asking questions? If they're not asking any questions and they just are like, okay, got it. That was Suze.
Yeah.
Got it. No, you don't got it, Suze.
Yeah.
If they're asking a lot of questions, as annoying as that can be, in moments where you have other things you want to do, that is a huge green flag.
Yeah, they're engaged.
Yeah.
They want to know. They want to learn.
Now, if they're asking questions on things that you've already gone over a million times, maybe that's a red flag. But I mean, when they're like, okay, I'm just curious, how, and they're trying to understand the connections between things. I think that's the part about it. It's it's not just a, how do you do this? It's a, okay, so let me understand this more. How is this connected? If they're asking questions about that.
The synapses, they're connecting the synapses to create of the real estate brain to see how everything is going to work together. Because at the end of the day, they will not be an independent admin running that part of your business until they see how all of the little individual jobs are connected to each other and how it's an ecosystem that all works together. And you can't learn that just in 3 months of sitting there, right? And doing data entry.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn how. So the person who's right for the job is engaged enough to ask the questions, why do we do it? Why are we doing this? And how is it connected to that? Because it's helping to build those connections so that they can see the big picture. They can see the forest for the trees. Right now, when you hire somebody, they're 3 months in, all they can see is the tree that you told them to chop down. That's all they can see. But you want them to see the whole forest. The only way that they're going to get there, and it's not going to take 15 years, is for them to be asking questions and trying to work it out themselves in their brain. That's what they're telling you when they're asking, is they're working it out. Green flag.
Yeah, green flag. And then also, if you start to give people more permission as they move through the training. And so when you give someone permission to make some decisions, like here are some things that you can go ahead and do, and then they do them, and even if they don't get them 100% right, they still did it without asking.
Yeah.
Like that's a green flag.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely had people who are just constantly like, I become the bottleneck to the business because, and it's my fault because I didn't give the permission. That's a whole nother conversation. But when I do give permission and they're still like, hey, do you want me to do this?
Yeah. It's the one who said, hey, what did that agent say when you reached out to them? And they go, oh, I haven't heard back yet. I sent them an email yesterday. It's the ball is in the other court. Whether the ball is in my court because they asked me for an answer and I haven't given it to them yet. So they just stopped.
Yeah.
Right. Or with another agent or whoever else, they hit the ball into the court. They didn't do the follow up. They didn't make sure that it was completed. They just stopped and waited. Is that what you're talking about? The people who stop and wait?
Yeah. And then also not even like I've had people that never even follow back up on it. So then you're like, hey, did that get done?
Oh, no. Yeah.
I was waiting for you.
That's when I was saying earlier about people about making a mistake and owning it. It's about owning it.
Yeah.
Right. Or the people who just are there and as a task handler. Like I'll just sit here and you tell me what to do. That kind of a thing.
So, well, I'll keep going.
Yes.
Because I was about to go down a deep rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. We don't have time for that.
But one last green flag is that when somebody finishes something and they're like, what's next? And I don't even mean that they come to you and they say, what's next? But they're just like, they're constantly like, okay, so I did that. Now I should do this. And they might check in with you because they're just making sure they have permission to do it. But they're constantly like on to the next thing and getting it right. Like not like what I was describing earlier with Sue's, where you make a bunch of errors and then go watch YouTube. That like, okay, I did this. Okay, that all looked great. Good job. Any questions? They're like, nope, but I was going to do this next. Like that's a good sign that they know what needs to happen next. And I sometimes do these
not
little
sitting and waiting.
I do like little pop quizzes, like, tell me what you think needs to happen today.
Yeah.
Like based on what like you're checking my email, you're checking my phone. What do you think needs to happen?
That helps
next?
Create those synapses and connections.
Yeah. And this is specifically administrative. I think the agent piece of this, although it's part of all of this conversation about holding on to for too long, I'm specifically talking about administrative stuff.
Yes.
Right now. But I think the biggest lesson though is that like letting go is part of this process. If you're going to have a business, you have to be at peace with turnover. There's going to be people that you love that leave because their life changes. There's going to be people that are absolutely a terrible fit. And you have to let go of them.
Yeah, people who just let you down.
You miss something in the interview process and it didn't work out. And it's going to happen. But I think the more you can, if you can hear what I'm saying and take that lesson as it's okay to let people go. That's the whole point of a 90-day. If you follow like a training program of 30, 60, 90, when you get to the end of usually 60 days,
Yeah.
Get to the end of 60 days. You'll know if they're a good fit or not. And don't keep going just because you're convinced that you can do better with them. You can train them better. You can do this. You can do that. If all the red flags are there and none of the green flags are there, be okay to let them go. Find something that they're going to really enjoy.
Two things. One, what you're talking about is trusting your gut. Mm-hmm. Trust your gut. If your gut is saying, I don't think, do not wait for your gut to turn around and to be proved wrong. You're right. Fire them. That's number one. Number two, 30, 60, 90, they don't have the job until the 90 days are over. Whether you tell them that or not, doesn't matter. What matters is that you know that. They do not have this job until the 90 days is done. Treat the 30, 60, 90, whether you're hiring agents or admin, as the football tryouts over the summer. Just because you're there running wind sprints all summer long doesn't mean you made the team. The coaches aren't teaching you plays. The coaches are out there making you run wind sprints for 9 hours until you throw up. And the ones who come back the next day, they're one step closer to making the team.
Well, and
so
I think
if you're showing up and those people are showing up in the 30 days in and they're like, I don't want to make phone calls. Do you think the coach is going to invite them back to the next day? Absolutely not. You're gone.
So I think what you're describing is a really good way to explain the agent side. That I went through this period where I thought like hiring more agents was the solution.
Yeah. Hire like a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily even think that I was wrong in that. I just think
hiring them wasn't, it was keeping them. That was the mistake.
But what I had started to do was, well, let me back up for a second. We have a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I made the natural progression to hire an agent after I had admin. I didn't start with a buyer's agent before admin, but it was pretty soon after. And I hired somebody to be a showing partner. And then very quickly was like, oh, this is a whole nother lesson. Very quickly was like, okay, I don't really want to do buyers anymore. So let me just hand you this. But this is a whole nother conversation for another time. So I'm going to digress. But I made a natural transition to agents and then hired more over the years because a buyer's agent, like the longevity of most is like 18 months to 24 months. Now, I'm not saying for like big teams, some of them have very lengthy periods of time, but like just the average across the industry. People are in, they're out. And so I've hired many over the years, and some of them didn't make it even through their 60 days. And it was them choosing to leave because they realized I've made the mistake of hiring a lot of brand new agents, and they realized that real estate is not what they thought it was.
Yeah.
And so there's some of that where they self-select out, and I don't mind that. And I don't mind having to let people go. But what my challenge has been is the middle part where they don't want to go, even though they should realize that this isn't right for them. They don't. And they keep pushing. And then I feel like, well, gosh, I mean, they want it so bad. So I'll just keep pouring into them and I'll keep making it work. And I do that. And they keep showing up. So it's like what you're describing. They keep showing up and they keep appearing to do the activities, but they're not getting any results.
Right. Because they're not really doing the activities. They're showing up for work, but it's make 10 contacts a day. And it's like, how many contacts did you make today? And they go 6. And then tomorrow, make 10 contacts today. How many contacts did you make today? 4.
Well, now in your analogy, here's the example, right?
Well, you're not running. You just walked off the field.
Yeah.
You decided you weren't going to do those wind sprints today.
So whatever
you're
you
not
set,
on the team.
Whatever you set as your standard. So this is the lesson with agents. Whatever you set as the standard for contacts or appointments, you have to keep to them. And it will mean that you will have a higher turnover because most people will not hit it.
Yes, and Kat has I think learned what. So the natural thing to do is you said, how many contacts did you make today? And they said 7. And then you want to have the conversation. Well, what can we do to get you to do 10? Who else can you call? If I have to have that conversation with anybody more than once, you're gone.
Well, what happens is, this is starting to get into too big of a conversation.
But you start to play therapist, coach.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
You're not therapist, coach. You're team leader.
Well, so you are their coach, but here's the issue: is they haven't earned the right to sit with you for 30 minutes and have a coaching conversation. I mean, think about what your time is worth.
$500.
So think about what your time is worth as a successful agent and you're growing your business. They haven't earned the right, but you do it because it's how we're kind of trained to like set this up. And you sit there and you coach them on, well, what happened that caused you not to get 10 contacts today or whatever, 50 over the week, whatever your minimum standard is. Mm-hmm. But they're showing you they're lacking motivation.
Yeah, it's the wind sprints on right. If you can't make the calls, that means you can't do the wind sprints. I'm not going to teach you the plays, right? You're not going to get to the point where you're sitting there and we've got the playbook and all the stuff, the plays up on the chalkboard and you're learning those. That's what the one-on-ones are. You don't get to have the one-on-ones if you can't run the wind sprints. The wind sprints are, I want you to set your sphere to 200 people. I want you to get all the information for them, every contact. And I want you to have 10 contacts a day. And I want you to do 2 open houses on the weekends.
Well,
and if you can't do that for 90 days,
but that's the point.
Then you're not right for this job.
But that's the point. So 200 or 200 in your sphere. Okay, this has been a chronic issue.
Yeah.
No one has ever gotten to 200 in their 90 days. Hold on.
Can I ask you how many buyer's agents you have on your team right now?
0.
Right.
Hold on.
Enough said. Case closed.
But hold on. But nobody has. And they shouldn't have been allowed to proceed forward. It is a bare minimum standard that I set, but then I didn't uphold that standard. That's a whole nother conversation. But the point is just, it's a lesson that I've learned that it's okay to go backwards. The biggest lessons I've learned over the last couple of years is it's okay to go backwards.
Yeah.
It will make you better and stronger to start over if you're finding that people won't live up to the things that you set out, especially if you know, like here's the thing, I'll blame myself sometimes for things, but at the end of the day, I really know at my core that I have got training, I have got leads, like I have systems, everything is in place for them to succeed. If somebody wants to, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And I know that because I also have had successes with people.
Yeah.
But they have to continue to show up and put in the work. You can't motivate them to do that. And if they've got personal stuff going on, or they were doing well, but then start to slip and stuff, then at that point, your job is to coach the person and stuff, but you can't motivate them.
Well, but yeah,
and
because your job there isn't, if they started to slip, your job is to inspire.
Well,
it's not to motivate. It's to inspire. You can't motivate them, like you said.
You can. Like whatever is going on that caused that is something that you can try to understand and give them some grace. But then at some point, like either
they've also earned it. If they've earned it.
Yeah. And then there's plenty of people that I would say like they never should have been there to begin with.
Yeah.
I know this was like a therapy session, but the point is the biggest lesson. Let me just recap. The biggest lesson is that it is okay to let people go. You're actually probably helping them go out and figure out what they're going to do best, because it's obviously not whatever you hired them for. And once you start to see that it's not, rip the Band-Aid off and take action. Don't just keep pouring more time into it.
Yeah, because you're going to end up.
The cost is much greater.
Yeah, it's going to take another month, and then you're going to let them go anyway. So just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off, right?
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move.
All right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple, smart thing to focus on this week. Not a giant to-do list, not something that takes hours, just one tiny little move that actually helps move your business forward. And this week, what we want you to do is practice your open house intro. You'll create confident first impressions.
So like when somebody walks in the door, what do you say?
Yes.
Yeah, just that first thing.
What do you say?
What do I say?
I know what you say, but yeah, I was just repeating it. But what do you say?
I say, hi, my name is Kathryn. What's yours? No. It is something very similar to that, though. Like somebody's walking in. I always say this, but like, just be a human being. If somebody is walking in the door, wouldn't you introduce yourself? So I say, hi, welcome in. My name's Kathryn. I'm the listing agent, or whatever your role is there. Hi, I'm Kathryn. I'm showing the property today. What's your name? And then they tell me, and then I say, great. How'd you hear about the open house? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Let me get you registered. What's a good phone number? What's a good email address?
Right. That's it. That's the opening for every single person. Notice Kathryn doesn't say, well, if you feel like signing into the sign-in sheet.
I'm not asking any like really big questions yet either. I had a shadow at my open house this past weekend, and I haven't done an open house in a little while because I just decided I didn't want to do any of this year. but I was doing one for one of my listings, and I think new agents feel like they have to like get all this information. They have to find out like immediately if they're working with an agent or what's their deal. And it's like those people, as soon as they walk in the door, all they're there to do is look at that house. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to engage with you. Now you need to in order to follow up with them, but make it very casual and personable. Like you're just introducing yourself like you would in any situation where somebody walks in to where you are, and then let them be on their way as soon as possible.
Yeah, because put yourself on the other side. Like if you're like in the old days where you'd go to the mall and shop for clothes, you don't need the person following you around asking you, you know, do you want me to bring you something else? What are you looking for today? Well, kinda,
because it's that whole that I've used that analogy before, and I've heard other people do it too. But it's like,
oh, damn it.
But other people, like, what do you say in those situations? You say, no, I'm good. But you are there looking for something.
Yeah.
So it's all in the approach, though. So I let them wander around, and then when you hear them say something or they're leaving, then try to engage again.
Yeah.
But it's a very fine balance of like, you want to get information, you want to be personable, and you want to know what's their situation without actually saying, so where are you moving from? When are you moving?
Yeah.
You know, what other houses have you looked at?
Third degree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why this best move is such a short little thing. You get that first part, get it down so it just rolls off the tongue really easy and the more you do it, just like scripts and just like a lines in a play, the more you internalize it, the more it sounds like you, the easier it comes. And then it becomes just second nature. And then you don't have to think about it at all. You can be thinking about the next thing you're going to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Small win. Kat, you got a small win this week?
Let's see. Well, we have a upcoming event, a little client event. It's called an ice cream social. Mm-hmm. And it's probably like the 6th year I've done it, maybe. It's been several years now.
Probably.
And our invite list just got to be a mess. It was just like, again, hiring admin and people not taking care of everything the way they were supposed to. It was just a bit of a mess. And so over the last week, I had my new admin go through and help get it into a place where that I could go through line by line and tell her if it was correct.
Like in a spreadsheet, in a nice clean spreadsheet.
Yeah. So I did the first pass, and then I had her cross-reference some things, and then I went back through and just gave it a final look. And I think I finally have a cleaned up invite list, and I'm like, do not mess this up again.
Yeah. Just leave it. Just back away. Slowly back away.
You have to, every time you have a closing, the new people have to go on there.
Yeah.
So it does need to get continuously added to.
But just to the bottom. Don't touch anything above.
It's like, that's a task on a task list. Just do your job and it'll all be clean.
And my small win is listeners know we have this guest house in the back. We finally put our first piece of furniture in there, which was we got an old clawfoot dining table from Kat's mom's house years and years ago. And we had it refinished. They rebuilt the tiger claw feet on it.
A lion
claw. Why did I say tiger? Whatever. And had it totally restored back to its original look. And we brought it over, and now it's sitting in the new guest house, ready for chairs. And my sunroom with all of my plants and stuff in it now needs a new redesign because that's where it was.
Okay.
So that's this week.
What?
I'm going to the nursery. Hey guys, for episode extras like the candy bag, ask us questions, or anything else we mentioned today, you can find it all at onseekingthebest.com. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think, Live, Be production.